All right, I want to welcome you guys to the second episode of my YouTube channel. Thank you for coming back and all right, I want to thank you guys for joining me again, and welcome to my second episode on my life here in Kazakhstan. Now, I did get some feedback from the last video that I posted, and I appreciate you guys just putting it out there for me and just letting me know what I can do to make it a little bit better and what perhaps I should dial it down on. But joining me again, and the second episode, we were actually going to be talking about everything that you'll need for your green card here, permanent residence, and detail. But unfortunately, I did a video on that, and it seems like to talk about everything in detail would just take so long because so much has happened. So I'm just going to do something that kind of give you the essence of what you'll need, and that way you can just go on ahead and get exactly what you need to make it happen for yourself. The last video we discussed about some of the different things that you will need, and that is to register at an address. And that the only thing that I didn't clarify on as far as giving you details on that is that wherever you register will be the address that you use for everything else. So if you register with a friend or a family member, this person will actually have to go to a notary with you and get a piece of document notarizing you to, I guess, legally be registered at their address. And they too will need to provide information about the apartment. People here call it flat, and I guess it's a UK thing. So you'll need to provide information about the apartment where you're staying, and that person will need to provide documentation showing that the apartment is legally theirs. Sometimes there are cases where 2 or 3 names can actually be registered to an apartment, and so it's a bit confusing who the real owner of the apartment is. So that is something that you may need to consider. So that's the only detail that I need to give on that one. And the second one, actually your B8 visa. So this one is a bit tricky because you'll need to provide certain documents to get it. However, as I was saying before, there's so much that goes behind it. And when I was trying to get mine, they told me that I would need to go back to the United States, and the Kazakhstan, I guess the Republic of Kazakhstan's consulate that's located in Washington, D.C. So that right there would have caused me a whole lot of headache and problems. And so I did my research on it, and I called them up, and that's when they explained to me that whoever tells you this, they don't know how to do their job. You take their names and we will report them. So if anyone is telling you that you need to go back to your country to get a B8 visa, if you're from one of the list of countries that do not need a visa to get into Kazakhstan, I guess you'll get like 15 or 30 days or something like that. If you're one of those citizens of any of those countries that are on that list, then you're golden, you're good to go. All you would need to do is just provide certain documentation, such as a marriage certificate, if that is how you plan to get your green card, and that will suffice. That will be enough. So just keep that in mind. If they tell you that you need to go back home, explain to them, because the information is actually on the website. And if you need any more information, just call the consulate in your country and explain the situation to them. I think, because the guy actually offered to email for me the immigration office here to explain to them what's going on and to let them know that I did not need to do that. So now the third thing on that list is the ENN number. So I already explained that one to you guys. You will need to go to a location that's called ZACS, right? And this place is where you would get birth certificates, passports, identification cards. It's an all-encompassed type of area where they do a lot of different documentation that you will need as a citizen or a permanent resident here in Kazakhstan. So when you do become a permanent resident in Kazakhstan, you will need to go there and get your ID. And if you do, congratulations. All right, so that's the area that will actually provide you all the documentation that you will need as far as the ENN number. You will need to show up now with a notarized and translated copy of your passport, because they cannot read your name if it's in a foreign language. I mean, they can, but they would know how to legally write it so that it's tied to your documents here forever. Now, the other thing that you would need to do, of course, is to get that letter of residence from your country. Now mine, as I explained before, that one was kind of a headache, and believe it or not, it was the most expensive thing out of all the documentations that I needed to get, because it was $50 US. That letter, once you've gotten it, you will need to go to an office. It is the Bureau of International Affairs, where you will hand that document in. Again, always keep your passport with you and the translation. That way they know how to write your name perfectly. And then you will hand those 2 pieces of documents, and then they will go on ahead and legalize that document for you. I'm not sure what the process is. Perhaps they contact your embassy and figure out if somebody by that name had requested this letter. I don't know what the thing is, but that's pretty much how that works. And once that's been legalized, now that letter is a legalized and accepted piece of document within the Republic of Kazakhstan. So the next thing on that list is, after you've done that, it's your medical checkup, right? Now, the medical checkup, and I'm trying to go through this list as fast as possible because I don't want the video to be too long. They are going to do a psychological exam, a drug and alcohol abuse, biology, skin, STD checkup, and also TB. All of these things you will actually do, you can do in one day, but keep in mind, these things are not all in the same building. And this was the frustrating part of it, because you assume, why wouldn't all of these things be under the same building? If it's a hospital or a clinic, why doesn't the clinic just handle all of that? But unfortunately, you have to go to different places. So make sure you get your Yandex Taxi app on your phone, because you're going to be riding the taxi all day. And now, if you do speak Russian, kudos, good on you. But if you don't, you are definitely going to need a friend or a family member that does, because it does help to kind of expedite the whole experience and the whole process. Now that you've gotten everything, you've done your checkups and whatnot, you just have to wait the next day to come and pick him up. The STD, however, you can pay a little extra and get it the same day, but since I was picking mine up the next day anyways, so I figured, hey, why not just pick everything up together? During this whole medical check process, you're also going to be doing the TB, and that one, they require for you to get an x-ray. That's a different building. After you've gotten an x-ray, you will take that to the clinic that does the TB check, and then they will, kind of give you the green light on that. All right, once you've actually gotten those pieces of documents, you are well on your way, because they take a lot of time. They will take your whole day, in fact. And if you are lucky, you can get all of it done the same day. After you've done your medical checkup, you pick everything up. Now, they will give you all kinds of papers and receipts. They all have to be stamped. Remember, do not forget your stamps, because without them, they are invalid. There's nothing that you can do about it, and you will be sent back to get those stamps. So make sure that you get stamps on everything that you get done, as long as it's a piece of document that you will need to present. Make sure the right stamps are on those documents, so that way you do not have any issues or problems in the future. There's also an autobiography that you're going to need to put together. And then at the top, you're going to introduce yourself. After you've done that, your education level. Bottom of that, you put where you went to school. Bottom of that, you have employment history. Kind of like the same thing with your education history, but now it's just employment history. After you've provided all of that, you go down. Now you provide information about your spouse. And after that, you go down and you provide information about your family, your immediate family, such as your mother, father, brothers, and sisters. You have to provide their first and last names, date of birth, if you have them. The issue with the autobiography is that if you do not speak or write Russian, you'll have to write it in English, and then type it in English, and then have that typed version, take it to a translator, where they will then translate it to Russian, and then certify that the English is translated into Russian, and what you see in the Russian version is what written in the English version. And then they will put all three of them together. So the handwritten one, I forgot to say that, it needs to be handwritten. So the handwritten one will need to be put together with typed one, and then the translation of the both of them. And then after that's been put together, notarized and all that fancy stuff, and you actually do need 2 copies of that, because one is going to one office, the other is going to another. So keep that in mind. You need 2 copies of those. Now, things that you also need copies, since we're on the topic of copies, you need a copy of your spouse ID, front and back. You also need a copy of your marriage certificate. That, and they also need a copy of your B8 visa that's on your passport. Also, do not forget that. Now, you're also going to need your criminal record. Now, this one is very important because it can take a bit of time. You're going to need to get a criminal record from that of your home state or home country. If you're from the United States, such as myself, you're going to need to get it from your state. If you've never lived outside of your state, you're going to only just need it from your state. And after it's been mailed to you, you're going to fill out an apostille, or apostille, as people say it differently, and then you will make a request to get that document apostille. So now, once that's been done, you make sure that you put a return envelope with that, and they will return it back to you. Once you've gotten that, then if you have someone flying to Kazakhstan to bring it to you, that's great, because that was the case with me. So I got it fairly fast because my brother came to visit. But you will have to get that mailed into you. So all of that, if you can't do it by yourself, you'll have to get somebody at home to do it for you, which is a lot cheaper and easier if you think about it. So after you've gotten your criminal record, you're going to actually need to get that translated and notarized as well. After it's been notarized and translated, make sure everything is put together. Not a copy of the apostille document, but everything needs to be put together. So don't make a copy and then keep the original separately. They all need to be together. Otherwise, you'll have to go back and put everything back together. That was one of the mistakes I made, so I'm sharing that one with you so you do not have to make it as well. Like I said before, after you get your EIN number, you have to open a bank account and actually fund the account. Now, here's another thing that I didn't discuss with you guys. Now, the amount that you need to fund the account with needs to remain in the account for the whole process. So don't think that you can just put the money in there and then get your statement printed out, get it, and fill out your, no, the money needs to stay in there because they're going to provide you with an extra sheet of document. That document is going to the bank and the bank is going to give them access to your account. Now, with that, I'm assuming that they can check whenever they feel like to see if the money is still in the account. And if it's not, then that may halt or kind of derail your whole permanent residence process. So to make sure that the money sits there, and guess what? It's actually a good thing because Kaspi Bank gave me really good interest on my money. As a matter of fact, I haven't paid for my phone because it's the interest that I get that pays for my phone and my wife's phone. So keep that in mind. You know, it actually pays to just leave it there, just let it sit and just do your thing, and just make sure you still have a source of income, so that way you don't have to touch that. That's my advice to you. So I guess the last thing that you will need to do is to fill out the application. The application is actually kind of a headache and a pain in the butt to fill because some of the questions that it would ask can be quite confusing. And this is where you need someone who knows the language, who can sit down and help you answer all of them correctly. Now, after you've done filling out everything, you just sign it. Do not date it. They will do that for you. If you date the application, you'll have to write everything all over again. After you fill out your application, you've had your criminal record, you got your letter of residence from your embassy, you have your medical checkup, you have your autobiography, you have copies of your spouse's ID, and you have copies of your marriage certificate. You're registered at an address, and the person that you're registered with has provided documentation showing that they own the apartment, and they've also done a notary document stating that you are in fact staying and registered with them. After you've done all that, you're good to go. So all you need to do is just go to the immigration office at that point and just file your paperwork. I wish you the best of luck if this is something that you plan to do and this is your journey, because the journey is definitely not an easy one, because you will be sent back to get documents. You will be told this is incorrect. Trust me, it can be frustrating, but if I could do it, you can do it too. I wish you the best of luck, love, peace, and harmony, and stay safe out there throughout this whole trial and tribulation. But as you can see, it's a beautiful day and I'm enjoying every minute of it, and I wish you to do the same. All right, I will see you in the next one. Next video, probably I will just do something, just walking outside, just showing you guys, different things, and probably explain a little bit of how my life has been here so far, especially during the quarantine, and how things are for me as a foreigner living here, and just kind of introduce Kazakhstan to you guys through my eyes. Once again, peace out. See you guys in the next one.